All right, good morning, good day, or whatever time it is in your time zone. So before we get to the main event, just want to give an update on something that I've been tracking for well over a year, and it is the stops within the algo. Now, not having a crystal ball and just accepting I don't know what's going to come next, I guess that's what happens of decades of actually wanting to do something right in the market. So with decades of that type of thought process and experience and thinking behind me, unlike Mike Norman, I actually understand that you do want to stop out. And I don't want to get on to the main event yet, which is a final nail in Mike Norman's coffin here. Just to back up for a second, I've been watching this guy for years, and he was such an obvious fraud. My apologies for those of you that still haven't figured it out. You trade with him long enough, you will. But this last year and a bit should have sealed the deal for you, because I have no better understanding of what the market was going to do than anyone else, including Mike Norman. The problem is with Mike is he actually thinks he does, and he's a narcissist, and that's why he ruins people. Whereas I just simply admit it, that I don't know any more than the next guy as far as what's the market going to do today, tomorrow, or next week, this short-term stuff. And that's why I employ stop-outs. And we were so ripe for a fall. The probability was as good as it's been in a decade, 15 years, whatever. And it turns out that was correct, but we were so ripe for it. You don't want to preempt the thing. You just want to roll with the punches as it happens. Thus, the algorithms that I run. And I track this ES stopouts. And since roughly a year ago, this past November, so we're talking 15 months or so now, I've been tracking publicly the stopouts. We've had 56 stopouts. That's what you see here. We saved 336 ES points. On this bottom blue one is just the individual stops that we did, stops and re-entries. Was it a net positive? Was it a net negative? So this last one, which we actually did this past week, was a net negative of 17 and a quarter ES points. So you can see, just because 50% of the time stopping out was a good thing, 50% of the bad thing, probably pretty close to that. Folks, most things are. That shouldn't be surprising. This is why you need to test your ideas. And this is something that Mike Norman never does. He just goes on the assumption that his random dart toss, licks his finger and sticks it in the air, or whatever he happens to wake up feeling in the morning is good enough. People, it's not. It's just the ultimate in intellectual fraud. It's just ridiculous. But thus is Mike Norman, thus is most people. And knowing that you're naturally hardwired that way, you just have to take steps to not think like that. It has to be a conscious effort. Other than that, we're all the same. And just some people are willing to put in the proper conscious effort, and other people aren't. They want quick fixes, and Mike Norman is the Band-Aid quick fixer. He tells a good enough story, and people just fall for it. So what we've done, not knowing the results, because I've tracked this live for well over a year now, 336 points. That is a sufficient amount of points saved that you can tell this extremely simple algorithm, which my Patreon members could actually tell you how this little sub function within inside the algorithm, just how simple it is. And it doesn't have to win every time. Your win rate is basically this bottom line. Above zero is a win, below zero is a loss. There's a lot of times you lose. But the cumulative effect is this one right here. Cumulative effect, all said and done, no bullshit, 336 points. Done, full stop. This is the type of stuff that drives me nuts when I see Mike Norman killing people by telling you he doesn't put in stops. Stops are for losers. How much more evidence do you want than I actually ran this live and showed everyone? And then look at the winner it became, almost from the get-go. I mean, the guy's debunked forever. So this is probably the last time I'm going to be showing our stops. Partly the reason why is, I don't do a lot of videos. And secondly, we have probably hit the bottom in the market. I know the last couple of weeks have been absolutely shit, but we're still well up off the bottom. I mean, there's nothing saying you can't make new lows, but I'm just saying likely we're off the bottom. All right, so I'm not saying we're not going to have more stops put in the near term, next month or two. That's quite possible. Who knows? But it is quite possible. As a matter of fact, this past week, just so everybody knows, we didn't get a perfect record of being out of the market this past week. Perfect record would have been out all 5 days this past week. We were out 4. And the 5th day was a small loss. And that's what you see here. we had a stop out that you'll find there. But I don't see much sense in highlighting this anymore. I mean, the market has been completely wiped out. And this portion of the algo, this little sub-algo, this little function, has done most of the work that it's going to. And this is not to be confused with this other chart that I've shown on the regular. And this is just flat out stopping out. See, this one is getting out and getting back in, and how many points you'd save. This one is just flat out stopping out and being out for days on end when the market's going bad. So like I've shown before, I've been able to put together, the green is the algo. This is back since the beginning of time, well before 2020, but I'm just zooming in so you can see something here. The more recent past is what we're after. Being able to stop out and staying out for lengthy periods of time. Believe it or not, that's this red one here. That's why you can see these long flat bars in here that you've seen in the past. Those were full times where we're stopping out as the market is careening back down. More than enough time to get back in once it gets a little healthier. No need to rush anything. And you can see that process has almost always proven itself to be better than what you see here in the green is the exact same algorithm run just without the stopouts. And on top of this, you get to add this as well. There's almost no duplication there whatsoever. And you can see that the difference between the two has come together more recently prior to the last couple weeks of drawdown because the market had recovered. Okay, but you can see here again, stopping out and staying out of the market for rather lengthy periods of time. Listen, from this 50,000 view here, you can see from prior to January 2020 till the present, if you can see big long lines here, you have stopped out for days and weeks at a time. And this is what's happened. Now you still see a few of them here. We'd have to drill in a little further, including this past week. Like I said, we were stopped out. We were out of the market 4 days out of 5. We got back in and then stopped out. Not a perfect score, but sure as hell a ton better than pulling it the old Mike Norman approach where you're paying with time as if he thinks time has no cost involved. Time is the most precious commodity and he's throwing it away. He's telling you to throw it away. And I think that's about enough on just how bad he is. There again, just clear evidence, straight up live trading with a portfolio that I've shown here. And this type of stuff, you only get this type of information if you're a Patreon member, and they can certainly back this up all day long. And I guess now we'll get to the main event. The main event. So this is probably the final chapter in highlighting and showcasing and debunking this fraud from Manhattan, Mike Norman. If you haven't figured it out by now, you're just not trying. And I'm not going to browbeat you anymore. You're just simply not trying. So go back. I have on my CQ2 channel, I have a playlist. Loads and loads, I guess I've got 33 videos debunking Mike Norman for a hell of a long time. So here's one back in September 2021. Talking about his stakes. Guys, you know he's mental. You know he's lost. He's lost in the frigging mental wilderness. He's never coming back. He's nutty. You've seen his bullshit Twitter post. You've seen him making a run for the president, having a webpage, Mike Norman 2020. Listen, again, if you don't see this guy for a total fraud, you're not even trying. So if you need your memory refreshed, or if you've just found Mike Norman and happened to trip across my channel before you got invested in this guy, well, congratulations. Luck's shone on you. Go through this entire playlist. It won't take long. It's mostly just me laughing at his own words. You can see here, I'm videoing portions of his videos. I'm highlighting trades he says and things he tells you to do. And then, like I just showed you in this first part of this video, I did the opposite. I showed you how it worked live, how reality works. He's lost. He's just lost. And again, I can't for the life of me. I have not been on his YouTube channel in, honestly, guys, 6 weeks. I don't know. I mean, if the guy dropped dead or he deleted his channel, I actually wouldn't know it. So, boy, that would be embarrassing. But I don't think he's done that because short of dying, the guy's a narcissist. He's never going away. Despite the fact that last time he told you he was shutting his channel down, I did an immediate video laughing saying, no, you won't. That's not what narcissists do. Imagine that. It's not that hard, guys. Just think crazy. But I got to say, the last time I was on his channel, reading the comment section, because there's no better humor than that, there are people trying to sign up on his website saying, I can't, I try to sign up and I can't, whatever, and you won't take my money. And I don't understand. The website is dog shit. It's been infested. More on that in a second. Guys, you don't want to click on anything on his website. You're crazy. And by the way, how dense are you that you've done so little due diligence that you haven't come across this channel doing any type of due diligence on Mike Norman? You see his channel, you instantly click the buy button. There again, you want a quick fix. You don't want to use your brain. Folks, I gave you a link to this guy, Mike Norman MMT Repo. This is his homepage here. If you go to the About, this is it. Every single, as far as I know, piece of information that Mike Norman has to offer you is right here. They're all links. Just copy and paste it. Some Forex trading. I guess there's 5 videos. Stock picking. Yes. Let me remind you, this is how good of a stock picker he is. At the top of a shitty market, he buys Coinbase. And I called that from the get-go. 90% of his money done. Okay, it's recovered a bit. 80% done. Doesn't matter. Never coming back. What does he tell you to do? Don't stop out. Pay with time. Folks, it's dead money. You people are on Coinbase, if you still are. Well, you're not selling at the bottom because it's come off the bottom. Sell it, get out of it, get into something real. This is what you're getting when you cast your lot with Mike Norman. Stupid shit like this. When you want to read about his daily treasury statement or his report or whatever, this right here. You can get it for free. It's worthless. But at least, you're paying for what it's worth right here. It's free. If you want to find this YouTube page, I will put it in the description of this video. And maybe I'll post it as a comment, a link down there. YouTube's getting so flunky, I don't know how it's going to work through. But one way, shape, or form, I will put a link to this down in the comment section. And of course, this video will, I guess, find its way on the top. So it will be number 34. And again, that's kind of the bookend. The final chapter, the epilogue. Not saying I will never bring him up again, but it's been done. The evidence is in. There's no evidence to the contrary. He's just lost in the wilderness. I will say one more thing before we go. The market's going to recover. Probably going to end this year, probably in the green. And then you know what this guy's going to say, right? I told you so. And everyone else that's been following him that lost all their money or didn't have money to put in the market. So they've got this twisted idea of how good Mike is that they would actually understand if they invested money with him in his bullshit, what he says anyways, because then they would have felt the full brunt and they wouldn't be so bullish on zero evidence. It's like a friggin' cult. It's like religion. It's exactly what it is, this guy. It's exactly how you're thinking if you believe anything positive about this guy. But again, he does a good job at hiding that because, like I always said, the definitive proof on top of the things he says and says he's doing, and then you just track it, his own words, and see how it works out, and see how he uses this bottomless bucket of cash to buy stuff that you can't because you ran out of money a full year ago. I've highlighted that forever, and he's continued to do it. It's just all nonsense, people. All I can say is you had to learn the hard way for those of you that tried to invest this way, because his daily treasury statement, reading the fiscal flows, it's a total farce. It's gone. It wasn't any good. It wasn't doable. It wasn't correct. Over a year ago when I started highlighting this nonsense. In fact, I was so convinced of it, I started showing my stop outs because I knew that would be the perfect time to open up this complete can of bullshit that is Mike Norman. And you saw it. A year ago, virtually today, within a couple weeks, he said the bottom was in. Hell, we hadn't even started. Go back. It's in these videos. It's all right here, folks. These ones with the orange background, click some of those. That's where I really highlight this, the complete full-on nonsense. And again, I understand it would have been a touch easier to see, but how dense do you have to be? It would have been a touch easier to see if you had actually pinned him to a portfolio and pinned him to a finite amount of money. You would see he couldn't do anything of the likes that he's saying he's doing. So again, that's the final chapter written on Mike Norman. No more need to say anything more. It's all been said. If you haven't figured it out, you've got a problem. See ya.